So, good afternoon, evening, night, wherever you guys are. Welcome to another edition of Burton Ballers, and today I'm bringing you breaking news which has just come out in the past 15 minutes. Roman Abramovich has handed Chelsea over to the Chelsea Trustees.
Welcome to the Burton Ballers. Ain't got no time for no stallers, yeah.
We are the risers, we're not the fallers. Our channel is growing wider and taller.
Yeah, we're here to give you the news about your dear beloved Blues, yeah.
So if you like this YouTube channel, like, subscribe and turn on that bell.
Yeah.
So, there have been calls by the British media and others for Roman Abramovich to leave Chelsea, for the club to be taken away from him. This is because of, obviously, we all know what's going on in the Ukraine, where that monster Putin is trying to take over that country. And I feel strongly about this country because I work with a few people from Ukraine, and it was distressing for me the other day when I went on a call with some. I went on a call with some of them on the Thursday, and on the Wednesday, and they said, yeah, they're fine for the moment. Thursday, they said they heard bombings, and by the Friday, they didn't attend our call because they were fleeing to go west. So it does bother me, this invasion of their country. So obviously, Roman Abramovich being one of the oligarchs, he has had some involvement apparently in the past with Putin. And as I said, calls have been made for him to leave the club. And this is the statement that he put out just 15-20 minutes ago now, and I'll read it verbatim. And it says, during my nearly 20-year ownership of Chelsea FC, I have always viewed my role as a custodian of the club, whose job it is ensuring that we are as successful as we can be today, as well as build for the future, while also playing a positive role in our communities. I have always taken decisions with the club's best interest at heart. I remain committed to these values. That is why I am today giving trustees of Chelsea's charitable foundation the stewardship and care of Chelsea FC. I believe that currently they are in the best position to look after the interests of the club's players, staff and fans. So, who are these club trustees? The club trustees are Chairman Bruce Buck. We've got John Devine, who is the head of the sports team at law firm Muckle LLP. Emma Hayes, we all know her, the manager of the women's football team. Piara Power, a long-standing campaigner for equality. There's Paul Ramos, who is Chelsea's FC Director of Finance, and Sir Hugh Robertson, who's a lifelong Chelsea fan. So that's the board of trustees who Roman Abramovich has handed the club over to look after. Some important things to notice in the club statement. And what he says is, I believe that currently they are in the best position to look after the interests of the club, the players, staff and fans. So that says to me, is it a temporary thing? What's going to be taking place? So that, because Roman Abramovich has always been somebody who's had the club at heart, and he's mentioned that in his statement. So maybe because of all the noise surrounding Abramovich and lots of people wanting him to leave the club, that he's decided to, you know what, I don't want the pressure to be on the supporters and the club. So if I sort of distance myself from the club now, leave it in the hand of the trustees, then they can concentrate on football and not everything surrounding this war. Because you know what's going to happen. Every single press conference, his name's going to be brought up. There's going to be more and more articles about him in newspapers. So it's just going to be, as I said, unwanted, unnecessary noise around the club. I've just been listening to some more news now on Sky where we don't need to panic, because what he's doing is taking the heat away from him, because we all know that there are calls in Parliament and other places for Roman Abramovich to sell Chelsea or to leave Chelsea. And every press conference, the question's been asked about Roman Abramovich and his involvement in Russia. He's no longer involved in Russian politics, but people will try to stir things up and say that he's involved in Russian politics. And so Roman Abramovich has always cared about Chelsea and the best interest of the club. So by withdrawing from the day-to-day duties and taking a back seat, then what he's effectively doing, he's taking the heat away from Chelsea, which is a good move. Also, he's still going to be investing in Chelsea. He's not withdrawing any of his funds that he's already got, calling any of the loans that he's got at Chelsea, and not taking out any of his money. And he will still be investing in buying new players. So it's going to be business as usual, but just think of him for now as a silent partner. Things may change in the future, though. We don't know, because if the heat is on and there's calls for him to be sanctioned, and he does get sanctioned, then he will have to think about considering selling the club. So are the trustee are there for Chelsea's long-term vision, apparently, and strategic plans. So is it a case of them looking for a viable buyer if anything does happen and he has to go, so that Chelsea are in a place then to get in a buyer rather than having to scratch around last minute, just contingency plans? That may be what's happening, So that is the situation which is currently going on at the moment. If it did come to the worst case scenario where we did have to sell up, please, I don't want any involvement and any American involvement in the club, because as we've seen with the Glazers, with the Gronkiars, they are just in it for profit. It does work sometimes. The Fenway Group at Liverpool are doing a decent job now, but even last season or season before, Liverpool fans were moaning about the investments, but they're making some smart business decisions at that club. Someone from the Middle East who likes, who are passionate about football, who are prepared to spend the money, that will be my preference if, and I say if, he does have to sell out the club. But for now, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. So what do you think, guys? Are you guys worried about the situation? Or are you just okay with it? Do you think that he should go? Do you think he's got involvement with Russia? Or that there's no indication that he has at this moment? And so if and only if he did have to sell the club, who would you prefer him to sell it to? Would you prefer it to sell it to some American investors or investors from another country? Stick your comments in the section below. So guys, I hope that it doesn't affect the players in tomorrow's big match against Liverpool. So let's get ready for that cup final, guys. And I'll take care now, and I'll see you guys on the next video. So bye-bye.